Yeah, just we can have the kids and dogs work together. I said, we were just talking about babies and some kids.
Everybody hear me back there in the back? Everybody hear me? Don't bring it Hello, can you hear me in the back now?
A little more.
You guys hearing okay back there? A little more.
Can hear you.
How about now?
That's better.
All right, thank you so much. It's so good to be here this afternoon. Those of you that don't know me, which will probably be 99% of you, my name is Dave Hardy, and I'm the Secretary of Revenue for Governor Justice. And our governor and his other guest of honor, who's the black chair sitting here, you can probably imagine, won't be the governor sitting on the black chair, okay? The governor will be sitting here. And I won't be sitting on the black chair, I'll never get up. But anyway, the governor and our guest of honor will be here in a few minutes. And let me...
We can't hear you.
Can't hear you, okay? One more. Okay. Okay. How about now? I think we're about as far as we can go up without a lot of back feet or anything. But are we good? Okay. Again.
Deb, just stand there. You want a chair? Sit next to that dog.
Try it again. I think you're going to have to ask the governor for a grant for a new sound system. Anyway, okay. We got it about as loud as we can get it. So, anyway, I was a Kanawha County Commissioner for 16 years before I joined the governor in January 17. So I'm all about local government. And Commissioner Ennis, I was talking to you a minute ago, and being a county commissioner is one of the best jobs you can have in the state because you are affecting people on the ground level every single day. When you dial 911 and the sheriff comes or the ambulance folks come, you don't ask them if they're Republican or Democrat. You just want them to be there. So I think local government is the foundation of everything we do. And I left my position in Kanawha County to be Secretary of Revenue to help the governor in any way I could. And we got there the first day. This was January 17th. And the first financial report we got, very first one, the state of West Virginia, they handed us a report. We were halfway through fiscal year 17, and we were $217 million in the red, right out of the box. And I said, wow, this is not good. Then our state budget director said, well, here's your next report, Governor. And Secretary Hardy hands me the next report, fiscal year 18, which we were going to start July 1. We were $497 million projected in the red. So our starting point, when we started there 5.5 years ago, was we were over $700 million underwater. Now, I'm going to take you to June 30th of this year. June 30th of this year, financially, was probably the greatest day in the history of West Virginia. We finished the fiscal year, this year, fiscal year 22, $1 billion, with a B, $308 million in the surplus side. So let's, even though the governor's not here yet, let's give the governor and the legislature a round of applause for that. The governor said we got to start giving folks their money back. We need to start giving tax refunds and put money back in West Virginians' pockets because this inflation are low. And we see this in the Eastern Panhandle. If you go up to the Eastern Panhandle, a lot of people that live in the Eastern Panhandle came from Maryland because they wanted the quality of life and lower taxes. So the governor said, I'm going to go big. I'm going to see if West Virginia can put a plan in place to eliminate our state income tax. He called a special session of the legislature, second week of July this year. Introduced the bill to immediately cut the state income tax, immediate cut 10%. First step. You say, well, it's only 10%. 10% is $271 million. So the governor was willing to cut the income tax, $271 million this year. Put it right back in your pocket. House of Delegates approved that in one day. The West Virginia State Senate, however, would not take up the bill. Refused to do the bill, refused to vote on the bill. So that bill, of course, died because it was not voted on by the West Virginia State Senate. So that's where we started, and the governor said, well, why would the Senate not support it? Or even vote on it? And it's because of Amendment 2. Now let me tell you about Amendment 2. It gets all complicated, but I've been teaching college for 21 years. I can make it real simple for you, okay? Here's Amendment 2. In November of 1932, that'll be 90 years next month, the people of West Virginia voted, because all changes to the Constitution have to be voted on by the people. They voted in a very large landslide that all property taxes that you pay, real estate and personal, would remain with local government. You pay that tax, it stays right here. It stays with your county government to provide all the services that the counties need to provide across the state, including emergency and first responder services. It stays with the cities, and it stays with the school boards. That has been in the West Virginia Constitution for 90 years next month. It's worked great. You pay your property tax, the money stays local. It stays where it came from. Legislature can't touch it. Guaranteed. Constitution. Amendment 2, and early voting starts tomorrow, by the way. Amendment 2 will be voted on in this fall's general election. Amendment 2 says the legislature will now have control over the property tax revenue. Well, you say, well, how much money is this? It's over $500 million statewide. Each county, of course, county commissioners know this, each county knows how much their share is. The legislature will now be in control of that revenue stream. And the legislature's saying, don't worry, we will budget the money back to you forevermore. We will always budget that money back to you. Now think about this, what they're saying. We're doing well now. We have surplus. We have some legislators that are in office right now. We have a governor that will be here in a couple of minutes. But they're trying to say, going forward, every year for the next 100 years, the local governments have to go to Charleston with their trick-or-treat bag, their hat in their hand, and say, please budget our money back to us. And that would be solely within the discretion of the West Virginia legislature and the governor.
Russ, let me call you back.
So that's
Let me call
the
you
big
back.
change.
Governor's.
Amendment 2 is no more guaranteed
All right.
local
Few
revenue.
minutes.
Go to Charleston and ask for your revenue back. Now, I'm going to tell you about the state budget. I've been there 5.5 years now. About 8, 9, 10 years ago, when Tomlin was governor, the state budget went underwater $160 million. They had to go to the rainy day fund just to balance the state budget. There's all sorts of strains on the state budget. There always has been, there always will be. Pay raises for state employees, PEIA, Medicaid, corrections and the jail bills, state, national, and local natural disasters. All of these things are going to always be on part of the state budget. If you vote yes on Amendment 2, you're saying we'll get in line with everybody else. So we'll compete. You can compete with the state employees for pay raises. You can compete with the state employees and the state budget for Medicaid expense, where the state has to keep up with Medicaid. So that's the battle that you'll be taking on forever if we take this guarantee out of the state constitution. So let's make it clear. The governor is completely and totally against Amendment 2. He believes that local revenue needs to stay where it came from, local. The Secretary of Revenue, that would be me, we have recommended to the governor and have said publicly that this is a shipwreck for the state's budget, because you're putting a whole different set of obligations on the state budget. Now, there's been conversation, and there will be conversation here today about the car tax. Because the legislature said, well, you know, if you'll vote for Amendment 2, we'll take the car tax off. Car tax is a lot of money. It's about $130 million. The governor will explain today to you his plan that the car tax will be rebated to you, every penny of it. So you don't have to worry about the car tax anymore. We've prepared a bill that will allow you to get every penny of your car tax either e-transferred back to you electronically or paper check, your option. So here's the decision, and here's what we're here to discuss today. Do you want to vote no on Amendment 2 and keep that constitutional guarantee of your revenue no matter what happens in Charleston? Or do you want to vote yes and get in line with the rest of the state to get your dollars back from your property taxes? That's what Amendment 2 is about. Now, that being said, is the governor around? Is he here yet? Drew, is the governor here?
Whenever you're ready.
Okay.
I'll wait just a minute there.
Okay. The governor, I think, just arrived here a few minutes. Babydog has turned into a rock star. All right? She has her own entourage, her own seat, her own bottle of water, the whole thing. When she comes in, the whole room always, or all eyes go there. I know I need to stop talking when Babydog comes in. Drew, let me know when the governor's ready. Okay, yes, please.
I just want to ask everybody to please silence their phones so it won't be going off while the governor is speaking. Thank you.
I might add, this is our 20th community meeting that we've held in the last 3 weeks. That's how important we think this is. We've been to 20 different places across the state. This is one of the best crowds, so thank you so much for being here. Okay, folks, the governor that brought us, told us the truth, brought us the bankruptcy, the record, 36 governors and judges, and Babydog.
How are y'all doing? Oh, bless y'all. Thank y'all for coming. And everyone,
let's take one thing right off the table right now. And that's this. As soon as we're done, I'll stay right here. If y'all want to come up and say hi to Babydog, you can. Okay. So, I know where I am on the food chain as far as importance. And I'm a couple notches below Babydog. Let me tell you about her just real quick. You know, of all things, when my son and daughter gave her to Kathy and I, Christmas before last, she'll be 3 in just a couple days. Anyway, they just hand this 10-week-old bulldog puppy to us on Christmas Eve. And my grandson, who was 2 at the time, you know, and just a little baby, I mean just barely 2, he would walk around everywhere and say, because the little puppy was going around all over the place, around the presents and everything, and he would say, "Where'd that Babydog go?" Well, so we just named her Babydog. And then from that, and she's dialed into you, maybe she thinks you've got a
I have a
treat.
dog at home, but I think it's my keys under my chair that's got her worried.
Oh.
Aw, she thinks it's the
I don't think it's worried. She's on the same dietary program that I'm on. And she probably thought that was some kind of chicken nugget.
There you go.
But anyway, here's what's really happened. You know, I say it all the time, and I really mean it. You know, the definition of coincidence, an everyday occurrence in which God chooses to remain anonymous. Think about it. I mean, how in the world did this bulldog puppy turn into this? And I knew she was going to be a 60-pound brown watermelon. But she's not growling. She's just talking. No. She just talks. She doesn't growl. She does it gurgling. And it sounds ferocious, but it's not anything. It's not that bad. Well, pet her. Come here, pet her.
There you go.
All right, now chill out, baby dog. Okay. But through all this stuff, I saw exactly what I see here today. She makes you smile. And through this pandemic stuff, we've needed a lot of stuff to make us smile. And the other thing is, she loves everybody. Everybody. She's dialed into your stuff now. This is not going to work up here. There's too many women up here that are dialed into Babydog. Okay, but if we could just do 2 things in life and that's all, we could make others smile and love everybody, it'd sure be a heck of a lot better world. So now, cool down. No point in looking at me. You've had 9 nuggets already. You can't still be hungry. Okay. Let me talk to you just 1 second about Amendment 2. Okay? First of all, you're great people. And at the end of the day, if everybody in here votes for Amendment 2, I think it'll be the god-awfulest mistake in the history of the world, but I'll totally respect your vote. And absolutely, with all in me, I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to kick things back and forth. All I'm here to tell you is what I think Amendment 2 will do and is all about. Now, okay, you gotta give me one. We won't get anywhere. But if you'll just stay with me on this and just think just a second. All right, now, you're getting this, and then you've got to calm down. Now, you've got to give me the rest of it. Okay. Yeesh. We haven't had these issues at other spots, but that's good out of your kindness. Thank you so much. But, okay, so just think with me. How did Amendment 2 get on my radar? You know, and here's what happened. And all I can do is tell you the truth. Now, at the end of the day, like I said, if you overwhelmingly pass Amendment 2, at the end of the day, I'll be totally respectful to the vote. And at the end of the day, here's what I will do. You know, for me, in 2 short years, I'm going to be done. Now, I'm going to be done. And I'll promise you, to God above, that I can ride the wave to the finish line, cut every ribbon, ride in every parade, and surely not have to be here with you like this. But you see, I'm not cut out that way. I'm not. I really believe that God above made me Jim Justice for a reason. And He made every one of you who you are for a reason. Now, if you believe that, and the other thing I would say is what my dad always says over and over and over, or said, you know, and that was just this. He said, son, if I know, and the good Lord knows, that's all that matters. And He's right about that in some things. You know, now, so I do know, and I know the good Lord knows, of what that I'm telling you is truthful. And so at the end of the day, you know, here's what I would say to you. If you believe you're made Jim Justice for a reason and who you are for a reason, and you know something is getting ready to blow up, then I feel an obligation to be here and talk to you. And if I just go hang out on the beach and cut the ribbons, then I think the good Lord looks at me and says, I'm not happy with you, and that's the end of the story to me. So, where I'm at is just this. How did Amendment 2 come on my radar? In July, we had $1,308 million surplus in West Virginia. And literally, $5 gasoline and grocery prices through the roof, and literally, like it or not like it, but you were hurting. And we needed to give something back right then. So it was proposed to me to do a 10% tax cut, and that would put $254 million back in your pockets tomorrow. I said, this is the greatest thing in the world. We got to at least get down, you know, first of all, it starts us down the pathway of getting rid of our personal income tax, but more than anything, it helps you when we're really having a problem. And it's your money, for crying out loud. It's your money. It's not Charleston's money. It's your money. So, what do? Right off the get-go, we call special session. The House comes in, and in one day they pass it. Going away. I know the Senate's going to pass it later that day. And it doesn't pass. And in fact, they don't even vote. And I'm thinking, well, what in the world is going on? You know, and then the thoughts coming through my mind is, and I'm very, very proud of my conservative values. Now, I really don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter to me, because there's enough people on the outside throwing rocks at all of us. We don't need to throw rocks at one another. But that doesn't change my values. My values are entrenched in the conservative values, and today, with what's going on in D.C., I think it's crazy land. But nevertheless, all of a sudden, we've got the Senate that's just stopped. And the first thought that goes through my mind is, for crying out loud, let's just be fair. What in the world are Republican majorities doing? You've got a Republican governor, You've got a Republican House and a Republican Senate overwhelmingly, and you mean to tell me we're not in favor of tax breaks to the people? You know, I just said, there ain't no way. There's just no way. Something's up. There's got to be something to this. So I just start digging. And lo and behold, I find what I believe is the truth wholeheartedly. And that is this. They had to have all your money. They had to have all your money. And really and truly, the driver behind all of this doesn't have anything in the world to do with car tax. That's the last thing on the planet that's got anything to do with anything. Because you see, just recently I came up with a way with Secretary Hardy to absolutely ensure you without a doubt on the planet that your car tax is going to be money that's going to be put right back in your pocket, and there's no way. Car tax is not an issue, nor has it ever been an issue. So you say, well, what do you mean? That's what they came out with in the beginning. And there's no way to describe this other than just tell you the truth. They did that to buy your vote. Now you can say what you want to say, but that's exactly what happened. They absolutely knew that if they came out and said, we're going to get rid of your car tax, vote for Amendment 2, you'd vote for it. And literally, what they wanted was the machinery and inventory tax, and they could have given a hoot about your car tax. Now, so what's going to happen here? You're going to get your car tax no matter what. Please, to God above, listen to that much. And then now you're going to vote. You're going to get your car tax no matter what. Now it's time to vote. And you're going to vote one way or another. You're going to vote for absolutely passing Amendment 2 and giving Charleston, honest to Pete, this is so crazy, it's off the chart. You're giving Charleston the ability to change the tax law, which takes the counties, and absolutely the counties themselves then lose all local control. Today, your county, to God above, your county ought to know a heck of a lot better on how to run the police departments and the fire departments and schools and everything than Charleston. Now, and if you believe really and truly that you want Charleston controlling your life, then you go vote for Amendment 2. And from my standpoint, there's no way for me to lose. No way. Because you see, I've fulfilled what I think is an absolute obligation in my life to God above to come and tell you. And I've got 2 years, and I'll ride the wave and cut those ribbons and everything to the end, and there'll be no stopping that. And then I'll be gone. And I'll run into you in Walmart. And I'll tell you there, I told you so. You better listen to me. No matter what anybody in the world says, you better really listen. I'm the business guy. I'm not the politician. I don't want anything. I drive myself. I don't take a salary. I don't want a thing. And if you really believe in what I'm telling you, then you best better run over top of any and everybody to vote against this. Because it's blowing your legs off, and you better know it. The other thing is just this. I'll bet everything I've got on just this. The person in this room that benefits more from the passage of this than anybody is who? It's me. It's me. My companies will get millions of dollars from the passage of this every year. And I'm sitting here telling you, don't do it. And the reason I'm doing that is because I'm a big guy and a big man. and I didn't sign on to do something for me. I signed on to do everything I can possibly do for you. I mean it. And literally, this would be very meaningful to me. So, if you don't listen, I've told you. If you don't listen, I'll tell you I told you so in Walmart. And if you don't listen, I'll dance all the way to the bank. And you'll basically give me millions of dollars. My approach is real simple. You're hurting in lots of ways. You're trying to deal with inflation and everything else under the sun. We need people in West Virginia. We've got to drive growth of people to West Virginia. I deal with companies all the time. I'm not anti-company. I am so pro-business, it's off the charts. Not one of these companies, not Berkshire Hathaway, not Pure Watercraft, we have a big thing, a big possibility in Weirton right now, right as we speak right now. None of these companies have come to me and said, you know, we'd be with you if you'd get rid of that machinery and inventory tax. I'm not opposed to getting rid of any tax, but I am absolutely telling you, this is ass backwards. First of all, we ought to get rid of your car tax, poof, and it's gone. I will promise you, and you have got to believe that with all in me. The bill's written on my side. It will be the first bill that we submit to the legislature in January, and your car tax will be gone, and the second that it's gone, he will make it retroactive back to January 2022, and he'll send every last one of you a check or electronically put the money right back in your account for every single dime that you paid. And you don't have to change the Constitution. You don't have to change anything. Nothing. You keep controlling the county of your revenue that's coming your way. You keep absolute control, and you go, and everybody lives happier ever after. Then what I'll promise you I'll do is I'll try as hard within me to get on a pathway of reducing your personal income tax. And literally then what we should do, if we had any level of real smarts about this, what we should do, get rid of the car tax, get us on a pathway of getting rid of our personal income tax and drive growth to West Virginia. And then pause, breathe, and just look at the whole situation and then say, now we can start getting rid of our machinery and inventory tax. It's backwards. And now, the net of the whole thing is just this. You have got to really get on your game here. Because, think about it. The lion's share of the machinery and inventory income comes into your county now and pays for services and everything else, and it doesn't come, who's the tax break going to go to? The lion's share of all that is going to go to big corporations, Walmart, whomever it may be. You know, and literally those dollars, Dow Chemical, whomever, those dollars are going to go out of state. If we do an income tax break to you, you're going to spend the money right here. You then become our stimulus package. Look, this is bad, it stinks, You may say, well, how could this have happened? Well, I'll tell you how it happened, and you know, and I'll argue this till the cows come home with anybody. It happened just exactly like what is going on in Washington, D.C. Lobbyists have money, real money. They go to the legislatures, and they try to convince the legislatures through all the perks and everything, all the promises, everything they can do to get their vote. For big business, the Sierra Club, whatever it may be. That's what's going on. That's the definition of swamp. You've got the exact same thing going on right now in Washington, in Charleston. Now, Charleston you're a long ways from Charleston. If you want to give up your control to Charleston, more power to you. Coach Pruitt at Marshall University said to me the other day, he said, this is just like this. Let's make it super, super simple. A bunch of politicians are standing here and they say, okay, everybody give us your wallet and all your money. Give us your wallet and all your money. And we as a bunch of politicians in Charleston will then say, and we promise we'll give it back. You can't be that silly. You cannot possibly buy into that. I mean, first of all, the politicians come and go. Even if they were completely sincere, they may not even be there. You know, you can't fall for that. There's no way. And the other thing is just this, and I don't say this braggadociously, but it's just fact. When I walked in the door, West Virginia was dead level bankrupt. Now, I don't care what anybody says, bankrupt. Period. Now today, look what we're doing. My Lord of Living, we're trying to build every road known to man. We're trying to take care of the people that are seniors. We try to take care of our vets. Tourism's exploding. We've diversified everything. Look what is going on. If you do this, the surpluses will leave. The last thing I'll say is just this. Many of you have smaller businesses. Many of you have homes and families and everything. When is it that you have had a guarantee in life that we're never going to have a bump in the road? Let me tell you something. Dupe happens all the time. And when we have a bump in the road, if you do this, your county is going to line up every year in February and beg to have the money come back to you from Charleston. As soon, God be my witness, as soon as we have a bump in the road, they won't be able to fund you back. And when that happens, you're toast. Now that's exactly what you are giving up. Car tax is gone, doesn't matter. Car tax you will get no matter what. Without any question in the world, you're voting to change the Constitution and give Charleston the control. Take away your resource of monies to the county and give Charleston the control. And not only that, but you are electing to give big corporations a big bump that are from out of state. And absolutely, you're electing to give Jim Justice millions of dollars. Millions of dollars, and he's telling you don't do it. Don't be this crazy, don't do it. That's what you've got at stake right here. So, end of the whole story from my standpoint. I didn't think this. Many legislatures, well, first of all, Senate leadership's been driving around everywhere under the sun trying to convince commissioners and whomever it may be, you know, school boards and everything for a year that this was the greatest thing since sliced bread and they were going to even send more money to you. And this is the thing we need to drive more business here and more business. It sounds great. It sounds absolutely too good to be true. But just listen, and please listen. What if you level off a field out there and they don't come? Proven every way in the world. You get rid of your personal income tax or get on a pathway of doing that, it puts money in the pockets of the people, and you grow population. This other thing is build a field and they'll come, hopefully. Well, at the end of the day, it's too big a risk. You're giving all the control to Charleston. If it doesn't pan out, Charleston's going to look at you and say, can you get by with 80% of your police force? Can you get by with doing, cutting this or cutting that? If your county is having a hard time and can't get by, what business wants to come to that county? I mean, really and truly, when it boils right down to it, I mean, my dad would say over and over, if it ain't broken, don't fix it. And that's what we're trying to do. And why? Why? Because of a campaign promise. Because of a perk. Because absolutely you've got people that are wedded to it. Now their vote in the legislature is wedded to this. And you didn't know anything about it. And be honest, you were told Amendment 2 was getting rid of your car tax. That's what you were told. Now, this is really strong words, but you were lied to. You were deceived. Any way you cut it, you were lied to. You were told, you pass Amendment 2, we'll get rid of your car tax. Yeah, you will. You'll get rid of your blooming life, but you'll get rid of your car tax. Well, I've come up with a way to get rid of your car tax and not take your life. And absolutely, that's exactly what this man and myself and his whole group of lawyers and everything in the Revenue Department have done. So the car tax is gone. But how I feel about it is just this, and this is what I've done every time. I stand first and foremost with you, the people. I have, all along, every time. You see, I think through this whole thing, you've pulled the rope with me. The COVID deal could have just devastated us beyond belief. Absolutely, you have pulled the rope. I walked in right off the get-go and said, any frog that's not proud of his own paw is not much of a frog. We've got to start absolutely promoting tourism in this state. Tourism took off like a rocket ship. I said right off the get-go we should tier the severance tax on coal, oil, and gas. We didn't do it. We didn't do it. Why didn't we do it? Because the legislature screwed it up. We didn't do it. What would have happened if we would have done it? It would have absolutely brought us in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars right now, when really and truly companies are absolutely bathing in profits. And you're going to turn around and say, look, I don't have any problem going on. Really and truly everything's good. I mean, gasoline's not really $5, it's 5 cents. And absolutely, the grocery store is no problem. I'm good on everything. And companies that are making obscene profits. I'm talking about companies that are making $100 million a month. And we're going to say, give them some more. Well, literally, and they've never asked for it. You know, I'm all for companies. Don't get me wrong. They bring employment, they bring goodness and everything. But you want a way to be able to craft together packages that attract people. It's working. I mean, how does Berkshire Hathaway, how are they coming? How did Nucor come? Pure Watercraft, how did they come? We absolutely are crafting packages together to bring them here. You know, you don't need to give away what we put in place in 1932. But in 1932, it's been there since that long that the income goes to the counties on what we're talking about. And then the counties determine how to spend their money, which is exactly what we ought to be doing. I said before, I don't know how in the world Republicans could not be in favor of a tax break. How could Republicans not be in favor of local control and want controlling Charleston? I don't get it. It is completely backwards to what we ought to be doing. You didn't know about this. You really didn't know. But here's my end to my end. And I always change it because I don't have any notes. And Babydog knows that. But my end to my end is just this. Everybody that I see, here's what the reaction is. First of all, when I went out there, they didn't know. And now they know. Now. And now they're mad. Now, I will promise you this, and you write it down, and you please remember this guy that's sitting here on this stool that's really sturdy. But you remember this until you know where freezes over. If you're not mad now, you will be. I will guarantee it, you will be. Now, I may not be your governor still, because it may be 2 years from today when it happens. But absolutely, to God above, I will promise you, if you're not mad right now, you will be. And I'll tell you why you'll be mad. You know, this thing all parallels in a lot of ways the whole thing about Santa Claus. First you believe in Santa when you're real young, then you don't. Before you know it, you are Santa Claus. Think about it. In a situation right here, first you didn't know, then you knew, and then you were mad. And what I'm saying to you is, I will promise you, you will be mad. And I'll tell you why you'll be mad is just this. Because at some point in time, the wheels will fly off and dupe will happen. And then Charleston won't be able to fund the county. And when that happens, your services will go boom. And I want you, whatever you do, to remember this guy that's sitting on this stool. Because you'll be so mad then you can't see straight. And I want you to remember this guy's telling you, you will be mad if this passes. Now, ask me anything you want to ask, please. And I'll answer anything as best I can if I can. This man here will. And if not, I'll put Babydog up on a chair where she's close to you, and I'll have y'all come up and say hi to her and everything. Let me just tell you this. Good people in the House and the Senate wouldn't even let, the leadership wouldn't let the senators vote. But good people in the House and the Senate, they didn't think this was anywhere close to as dangerous as it is. I didn't either. But now I know that in my entire governorship, this is the most important issue of all. If we pass this, we're going to absolutely pay forever and ever and a day. I know it. That's why I'm here with you. And I mean this.
We don't get enough funding from Charleston now.
That's probably right. That's probably right. But you got to know this, and this is my end of my end. I mean it. I don't want nothing. Remember that. I don't want anything. When you see me drive away, I'll be driving myself. Now, unfortunately for the police, I lose them a lot of times. And when I lose them, they go completely crazy. Now, they go crazy. You know, while I'm on there, I got to tell you this story real quick. On my first day, I was coaching a basketball game, and you got to forgive me for this because it's got a little bit of a not great word in it. But I was coaching a basketball game, a girls' basketball team at Princeton. Greenbrier East, my team was playing Princeton at Princeton. So we go to the game. We've been through all the inauguration stuff and everything. First day now. I've got a game that night. And so I go in the gym down at Princeton and everything, and there's 6 state policemen around everywhere, and they're watching me and all that. And I thought, shame, boy, this is going to be a different life. And then I thought, well, you know, I hope like crazy I don't lose the game, you know, the first game. And we did win the game. Close, but we did win the game. Walked outside, God be my witness, and where is he? I don't know where Drew is. Drew, okay. That man right back there is Drew Pendleton. He is the captain of my detail. This is the God's fact if I die. We come out of the Princeton, and this young trooper standing there, and he says, Governor, I'll be in your taillights all the way to your house. I thought, okay, good enough. So and I drive myself all the time. But in this situation, we've been up for all the inauguration stuff and everything, and I was worn. So this guy with me, who's my assistant coach on the basketball team, his name Mo Ball, I said, Mo, you drive. Kathy will sit behind you, and I'm sitting in the passenger side. Off we go. Okay? Now, the trooper's right behind us. We get to the first toll booth at Gent, and whoom, right around us he goes, and shoot, right through the toll booth he goes. I said, follow him, Mo. That cost me $93. So shoot, right through there. I don't have a transponder. Shoot, right through there we go. Now, we're flying down the road. And I said, well, good. We're going to get home really fast. I'm loving this and everything. Mo's doing 92 miles an hour, and he's right on this trooper. And down the road we go. Kathy says, or I said, we're 77's going here, and 64 goes to our house. And Mo's vehicle is 2 exits up on 77. So I said, well, what are we going to do? We can't get word to the trooper in front of us. And Kathy says, call Drew, captain of our D, and he'll get a hold of the trooper. So we called Drew, and I said, Drew, we got to go to the Harper Road exit on 77. He said, I'll take care of it, sir. And in 1 minute, the phone rings back, and he says, Governor, the trooper in front of you is transporting a prisoner to jail, and he's not with you. And then the next words out of his mouth, again, God be my witness, is, actually, Governor, the trooper that's behind you says that he can't keep up with you. I tell you, it's the first day. It's the first day. I mean it when I tell you I love you. Yes,
When
ma'am.
you say services, just so that the whole populace knows, when the county services, we're not just talking it'll affect maybe 1 or 2. We're talking a lot of money that will affect all the services. The first responders, your police, your fire, so
Schools.
schools, the senior center, all that, everything.
It
It's not
could.
just like, oh well, if I pass this, then maybe, we'll just lose a little bit of this. It's pretty big.
Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, it's this much money. It's literally, if the utilities are involved in this machinery and inventory thing, it's $700 million. Well, you pull $700 million of revenue out of West Virginia today,
We're done.
you could be in real trouble if we have a bump in the road. And we will. Gosh, I mean, we will. So it absolutely, it could affect anything. Because the counties will line up, you mark it down, will line up and beg. Some counties will be rewarded and some not, but if there's just so much money, I mean, you gotta just think about this. When the day I walked into office, the day I walked in, we were halfway through the year. It was in January. The year ends in June. And they come to me and they say, this man right here, he's the Secretary of Revenue. I put him in a job. He says, Governor, in looking at the books, we're in real trouble. We're going to be $217 million short by the end of June. And I said, there's no way. You can't do that. I mean, my good Lord of living, you have a constitutional amendment that says you have to have a balance. What happened to the budget 6 months ago? And I said, well, Governor, and his words are, dupe happened, and we didn't get in as much money. Well, now you're $217 million short. What are you going to do? I said, well, can you take the money out of the rainy day fund? No, can't do that. We've done that the last 2 or 3 years, and now our bonds are about to be derated. They had nowhere to turn. Nowhere. And then he said, if that isn't bad enough, you're going to be $497 million short your first year. And then beyond that, it grew to $772 million more short. West Virginia was as bankrupt could be. Now, we've changed. We've changed the whole landscape. And we did it through good ideas and hard work, and more than anything in the world, the blessings from God above and you. I mean, anybody would sit here and pat themselves on the back and everything. I mean, sure, I'd love to take a bunch of credit and everything. And sure, I think I've come up with a lot of good ideas. But I'm telling you, every idea to me comes through the good Lord. And I truly believe that. I'm not smart enough in a million years to have come up with roads to prosperity or all the great stuff for tourism and stuff. All I am is just the messenger. There's somebody else controlling this whole scenario. That's how I feel. Now, I don't mean to be Reverend Jim, but I mean because I screw up a bunch of stuff. But absolutely, without any question, West Virginia is killing it today. And West Virginia has become that diamond in the rough that everybody missed. And you, in this area, are absolutely the leaders of the pack in so many ways. In southern West Virginia, it's tough still, really tough. A guy in Marshall County this morning asked me, he said, well, in southern West Virginia, if they're having a terrible time, are they going to take, if we come up short, are we going to still reward them and take away from you because y'all are doing better? And I said, really, you'd really be surprised. First of all, that's not America, and we should not do that. First and foremost, capitalism. Where we try to make everybody the same. But the thing is, in southern West Virginia, they only have 5 sprinkles. And how they feel about this amendment too is just as simple as this. If you take away a couple of their sprinkles, they're dead. They're dead beyond belief. They'll vote overwhelmingly against this amendment. Now, I'm telling you, people probably thought this was okay because it may bring more opportunity or more business. I would say those good people, why in the crap then have a big business or a good business? Why haven't they asked me about this? And you may say, well, this would help small business. Well, you know what I'm wanting to do with small business? I'm wanting to give these people here all money that will go to small business and increase the small business double. That's what I'm wanting to do. I'm not wanting to give small business $150. I'm wanting to give small business double their business. Now look, you can criticize me all day long on a lot of things, but I know what the crap I'm talking about this. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, honestly, and I don't say this egotistically, but I'd bet everything I have in the world on this. There's not a person in that dome that has the business experience that I've had, because I've screwed up so many things that's unbelievable, and I learned from it. You know, now, if you believe what I'm telling you, now you've got to do something that's really, really important. Men now have to be the disciples. You got to go absolute get the vote. Because if you believe that this is the most important thing that the governor of the state of West Virginia is saying of his entire governorship, you best better believe that it is the thing that will turn you in toast if you absolutely don't get things shot down. Now, I believe it's going to be shot down out of the sky like nobody's business. But absolutely, if it's not, then look for me in Walmart. I'll be there. I'll be there. When you see me, run the other way. I'll look right at you and tell you, I told you so. Anybody got any questions? Yes, sir.
Mayor Miller from Weird.
Hey, Mayor.
Who's funding the other side? Where are they getting their cash?
Well, I mean,
You see a lot of ads on TV.
yeah, sure.
Yeah, that costs a lot of money. I just wondered who they are.
Well, listen, I can't tell you that I know absolutely for certain, but just think of all the people that are really benefiting.
Yeah.
Now just think about this for a second. And I'm not picking on people, but Dow Chemical's going to get another $2.7 million. Walmart's going to get a bunch of money. Manufacturers are going to get money. You know, this list right here, and Union Carbide, Panther Creek Mining is going to get $577,000. Boyd Company, $678,000. It just goes, it just goes on and on and on. Jim Justice, millions. It just goes on and on and on and on. Think about this, and again, I am, I'm telling you the fact. When we, and I can show you mathematically, but I'm not going to bore you. When coal at the time was $35 and gas was $1, okay? And we needed to help those industries because they were having a tough time. I said tier the severance tax. So in other words, if the price goes through the moon, we'll put a little bit more in the collection plate as far as companies. Now my company is a coal company, you know, now. And when things are really tough, government back off of us a little bit and make things a little easier. Well, the guy that was head of the coal company period, of the coal association period, was Bob Murray. And Bob Murray with Murray Energy absolutely was mining half of the steam coal in the state. Bob had a air thing on his chest and everything. And he really believed in his people. And Bob Murray said in my office, I didn't know him from Adam. And he said to me, he said, Governor, I need a couple of rabbits. What he meant was, I need some help. Because coal prices were $32 or $30 or something like that. He said, I'm having a really hard time. Now, and I said, well, Bob, you've heard what I had to say. All I'm asking is when things are really bad, we help our companies. And when things are really good, the companies pay a little more. He said, I'm with you, Governor. He said, would you let me, Bob Murray, would you let me fill out what I think the tiering should be? I can bring it to you on his stationery right now. He brought it back to me the next day. That's what we should have done. By absolutely just walking away, it will be the single biggest mistake in the history of this state unless we do this. We walked away from it. The House and the Senate, we didn't get it done. Here's a guy with the biggest coal company in the land that said do it. And we didn't do it. We didn't do it. At the end of the day, it is unflat believable what that's cost you. You can't fathom what it's cost you. It may very well have cost you $3+ billion in a state that the whole budget is like $4.6 billion. Now I'm telling you the God's fact. The fact. At the end of the day, you know, my dad would have said, and I'm shutting up. My dad would have said, son, and I did this, I mean, you know, you can't imagine how many acres of corn I've planted and how many acres of corn I've harvested. I'm not talking about, you know, 50 or so. I'm talking about hundreds of thousands. We became the biggest farmers east of the Mississippi River. You know, absolutely, with all that, I ran equipment all the time, bulldozers and backhoes and everything under the sun. And Dad would always say to me, he would say, son, it's okay to take that D10 and really try really hard to do what you're doing with it. But if you get that D10 hung up and you're really working really hard with it, because the D10's hung up, it's hard to get back. He said, but if you get that hung up, it's okay. But son, you better damn well not ever go get another D10 to get that one hung up and get them both hung up. Now think about it. And that can happen. You got one hung up and you're trying to pull the other one out and everything, before you know it, you got them both hung up. Now, I am telling you, we screwed up the severance tax deal. And it could have meant everything under the sun. One of those coal companies today is making in excess that took bankruptcy to get rid of a bunch of their debt. And a lot of people got stiffed. Now, and today they're making in excess of $100 million a month. A month. And you're going to give money to them when you're having a hard time figuring out whether you can buy groceries. Look, this just isn't right. And what you've been told to vote for this, and they tricked you to vote for this and you'll get rid of your car tax, is just a trick. Look, you're great West Virginians. I mean it when I tell you I love you with all my soul. And I'll stand with you to wherever freezes over. And on top of that, it has been a real honor being your governor and flying with you. You have been so good. And don't ever let anybody tell you anything but that. You're the best of the best of the best of the best. The best craftsmen, the best low crime, the best absolute people, the best neighbors, the best loving, the most appreciative, the absolute best of the best living in paradise right here. You deserve way more than this. That's why I'm here. And that's why Babydog's here too. So I'm